White teacher calls the cops on black student in class. 5 minutes later, she regretted it. Where are you watching from? Type your city in the comments. You might just get a shout-out in the next video. If you're a cat lover, hit like. If you're a dog lover, drop a comment. Let's see who wins. And if you love pets in general, hit like and subscribe for some good luck today. The first mistake Ms. Reynolds made that morning wasn't the lesson plan. It wasn't even her tone when she told her students to quiet down. It was her eyes, the way they scanned over the room and froze, not on the late homework slips piling on her desk, but on one student in the back row. 17-year-old Jamal Carter. He wasn't doing anything. Just sitting there, notebook open, pencil in hand. But Ms. Reynolds's gaze lingered, sharp, suspicious. As though she saw something in him she didn't see in the others. Something dangerous. "Jamal," she said suddenly, cutting the air like a knife, "what's in your bag?" The classroom fell silent. 20 pairs of teenage eyes turned to him. Jamal blinked. My school stuff, Ms. Reynolds." "What else?" Her lips tightened. "Stand up. Bring it here." Murmurs rippled through the classroom. A few kids exchanged looks, some nervous, others confused. Jamal stayed seated, his dark brown eyes steady but tired, like someone used to this kind of spotlight. "With respect, ma'am," he said slowly, "I don't see why I need to empty my bag. I didn't do anything." The words hung in the air. Ms. Reynolds's voice sharpened. "You're refusing to cooperate with a teacher? That's insubordination. Do you have something to hide?" The whispers grew louder. A few students shifted uncomfortably, some shaking their heads. "Calling him out for no reason," one girl muttered under her breath. But Ms. Reynolds ignored them. Her face was pale, drawn tight with something more than anger, fear. She reached for the phone on the wall, her hand trembling, and with a sharp motion, she dialed. The words came cold. "Yes, this is Ms. Reynolds at Lincoln High. I have a situation with a student. He's refusing to comply. Could you send an officer?" The air in the classroom froze. Jamal felt his chest tighten, his heart pounding. He looked around, searching the faces of his classmates, but most stared down at their desks. Except one, Maya, the girl sitting 2 seats over, who clenched her fists so tight her knuckles turned white. "Ms. Reynolds," Maya said firmly, "he didn't do anything." "You're overreacting." "Stay out of this, Maya," the teacher snapped. "This is for everyone's safety." Safety. That word hit Jamal like a blade. He had heard it before, whispered in hallways, shouted across streets, murmured by people clutching their purses tighter. Safety. As if his skin, his height, his quietness, were threats. Within minutes, the sound of boots echoed down the hallway. Heavy. Final. The classroom door burst open and Officer Daniels stepped in, tall, broad-shouldered, hand resting on his holster. "Where's the problem?" Ms. Reynolds pointed. "Him. Back row. He's refusing to hand over his bag. I believe he may have something dangerous." The officer's eyes locked on Jamal. For a moment, silence. Then Daniels took a slow step forward. "Stand up, son." Jamal swallowed hard. "Sir, I didn't do anything. My bag just has my books." "That's it. Then you won't mind showing me." The tension was suffocating. A few students had their phones out now, recording, quietly, carefully, because they knew this was bigger than just a classroom dispute. Jamal lifted his bag, placed it on the desk, and unzipped it with trembling fingers. He pulled out a math textbook, a notebook, a lunch bag, and his basketball shoes wrapped in a plastic bag. That was it. The silence was deafening. Ms. Reynolds's face drained of color. Her lips parted, but no words came. The officer looked from the empty bag to her, his expression darkening. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "you called me here for this?" Ms. Reynolds stammered. I thought he was acting suspicious." "No," Maya cut in, her voice sharp with anger. "He was acting like a student trying to learn until you humiliated him." The officer's jaw tightened. He turned to Jamal. "You're free to sit down, son. You did nothing wrong." Relief washed over Jamal, but it was thin, fragile. Because the damage was already done. His hands were still shaking. His classmate's stares still burned into his skin. Then Officer Daniels's gaze shifted back to Ms. Reynolds. "Ma'am, do you realize what could have happened? Calling law enforcement on a student with no cause, this could have gone very differently. You put him in danger." The words struck like thunder. Ms. Reynolds staggered, gripping the edge of her desk. She had wanted control. She had wanted safety. But instead, she had exposed her own fear, her own prejudice, in front of 20 witnesses and a recording officer. And those phones, those silent cameras, were still rolling. 5 minutes. That was all it took. 5 minutes for her career, her reputation, to teeter on the edge. Because before the day was over, those videos would spread. Parents would demand answers. The principal would call her into the office, face grave with disappointment. And Ms. Reynolds would sit there, realizing her worst regret, that in her fear, in her blind suspicion, she had nearly destroyed a child's life. Jamal walked out of that classroom stronger than he walked in. Not because he wanted to be, but because life had forced him to be. Because once again, he had survived a moment that could have ended so differently. As the officer left, he paused at the door. His eyes swept the room, lingering on the quiet students holding their phones like shields. "Let this be a lesson," he said. "Think before you act. Some mistakes can't be undone." The door shut behind him. And Ms. Reynolds, still standing, trembling, staring at the empty bag on Jamal's desk, finally understood. The real danger that day was never Jamal. It was her. The moral of the story: prejudice is the heaviest bag a person can carry, and sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the room isn't in a backpack, but in a mind clouded by fear.